Both you and me are trapped in the trap of illusion, but consider ourselves free to live in the world. What we see is an illusion of the brain. That's why negative emotions such as anxiety, insecurity, despair, disgust, hatred, and greed are always chains in our lives today. The book I want to share with you, Why Buddhism is True, is a book that helps us discover ourselves more honestly and gain great wisdom in life. Why Buddhism is True is a very bold title, isn't it? But please don't misunderstand, the author will not give opinions that oppose other religions, and the work will not analyze the Buddhist view on reincarnation or supernatural concepts. Here is the result of many years of research and practice by author Robert Wright, an American evolutionary psychologist and one of the 100 most influential thinkers in the world. This book is good and worth learning from a modern person's perspective. It is a philosophical book that uses knowledge of evolutionary psychology to examine the 5 cognitive truths about humans that Buddha first spoke about. Our happiness is actually designed by our genes, and the structure of our genes is dissatisfaction. Second, happiness and trouble are both feelings. Third, human nature is governed by emotions. Fourth, we cannot look at the world objectively. Fifth, but we can free ourselves from sorrow and suffering. This book teaches us how to overcome the illusions of the brain through practicing self-control. Detaching ourselves from different feelings helps us escape trouble or pain and helps us become wiser and happier. At the beginning of the book, the author mentions the movie The Matrix. Why declare this movie? What's special about it? In this movie, the main character is Neo, a very ordinary office worker, just like us every day. He had to go to work every day, but suddenly one day a man named Morpheus came to his door and told him that everything he was hearing and seeing was fake. He was living in a huge illusion, and Morpheus made a choice. If he takes the blue pill, he can return to the illusion and continue with his life. And if you choose the red pill, you can break the chains of illusion and see the truth. If you were Neo, which color pill would you choose to take? Neo chose the red pill and saw an extremely horrifying truth: everyone was immersed in a vat filled with green liquid. There is a power plug in the head, and all the daily activities are only happening in the brain. An algorithm is the matrix that controls everything. Why did Robert Wright use this movie as an introduction? Because The Matrix is called a Bodhidharma film, the world the director portrays resembles what Buddha wanted to say is all an illusion. In fact, you must understand that our brain has an extremely important task, which is to deceive us. Because the human brain was born to help us survive, its main purpose is to maintain genetics, survive and reproduce, not to verify what is right or wrong for us. It doesn't matter what is real and what is old, it just wants to deceive us to find food, find a mate, and make us feel short-lived pleasures. And then this feeling of happiness will quickly disappear. We continue to pursue new happiness. But then the vicious cycle repeats, not feeling satisfied with these short-lived joys. Like the song Infernal Affairs, we constantly rush on the road, but forget the way out in frustration. We keep trying to pursue the satisfaction that we only get occasionally. If there weren't people like the author of this book standing up to wake us up, we wouldn't even realize that if happiness is so short-lived, then why do we always try to pursue it? In the book, the author mentions the pleasure treadmill. This is a running machine designed for us by the brain, the purpose of which is for us to constantly run, without ever finding the destination. In the book, there is an experiment that made me feel extremely impressed. People put a monkey in a cage, and inside the cage placed a lamp. Every time the light turned on, the monkey would receive a cup of juice. When drinking a cup of juice, the monkey's brain begins to secrete a lot of dopamine, making it feel extremely excited and excited. Soon it figured out this rule. However, later on, as soon as the light turns on, a lot of dopamine is immediately secreted. When drinking a cup of juice, the amount of dopamine in the monkey's brain did not change at all. It turned out that the monkey's source of joy came from the moment he expected to receive the juice, not the juice itself. Another example is, when we have never eaten cake for the first time, when we eat it, we feel wonderful. Oh, this cake is so delicious. Our brains already secrete a lot of dopamine, and then, because we have already eaten the cake, the peak of dopamine release is when we hold the cake in our hands and are ready to take a bite. First piece. After eating, this feeling of enjoyment will decrease quickly. Everything we see and perceive is fake, for example a glass of juice. Cakes are just the tip of the iceberg. We think we live in freedom of choice, but in reality we are consumed by the treadmill, and we humans are constantly chasing the next satisfaction, a shopping spree. Next promotion or further promotion. There are people who, after being promoted, have a harder and more stressful job, but they still try to reach higher goals. There are people who shop unlimitedly with a house full of items they never touch, but they continue to shop. We always try to pursue satisfaction once we have achieved it, then this pleasure quickly disappears. Gradually we continue to crave more and more things. Of course, Buddha did not know the relationship between dopamine and pleasure, but he believed that life is full of endless suffering. Suffering is an important concept in early Buddhism. Buddhist scriptures were written in Sanskrit. Sanskrit has been lost for a long time, but Buddhist scriptures in Pali have been passed down to this day. The word suffering in Pali also has another meaning, which is dissatisfaction. The sea of suffering that the Buddha considered boundless is our dissatisfaction. Previously, our understanding of dissatisfaction was too superficial. We can now use Robert Wright's evolutionary psychology perspective to see that the relentless pursuit of short-term happiness is a result of natural selection as well as the laws of biology. Existence is deeply engraved into our genes. Darwin long ago said in his book The Selfish Gene that genes are the true masters, and the human body is just a tool to spread genes. The more modern psychology is used to analyze Buddhism, the more reasonable it becomes. The world we live in is very similar to the setting of the movie The Matrix. Natural selection is controlling us. We are in it, but we are not aware of its existence, and we think we are pursuing our dreams according to our subjective wishes. The rules engraved in genes by natural selection have allowed humans to live for a very long time until now. However, the rules that favor that existence are clear. Now, it is not suitable for modern civilization, and it is even harmful to us. Why do we like to eat sweets so much? In wild times, sweets are beneficial to survival. But now it is the source of obesity and countless other diseases. Another example is that unfortunately on the road, we have a small collision. However, there are many people who easily get angry, even arguing back and forth on the side of the road. Why is that? In the past, when people still lived in herds, when threatened, we needed to rise up to fight, lest others take away our scarce food source. Therefore, the rules of genes by natural selection are still engraved and inherited to this day. When people lived in the wild times, if there was any noise from the surrounding environment, we would immediately feel scared and run away. There is a 99% chance that the sound is the sound of wind blowing, only a 1% chance that it is a poisonous snake. 1% chance. Of course it's small, but its consequences are serious. Therefore, to survive, even if you have to run 99 times, you can run exactly once. The gene does not care about exact selection rates, it only cares about ensuring maximum probability of survival. However, sensitivity to the surrounding environment has added a lot of trouble and anxiety to our lives today. The author calls genetic markers that were once beneficial for survival but are now harmful to us, called hallucinations. In another experiment, people drew a scar on the subject's face and used a mirror for him to look at. Afterwards, the Academy tried to adjust the scar to make it look more realistic, but in fact, the research team silently erased the scar. They asked the subject to go shopping and find someone to talk to, and after returning, asked this person if anyone had noticed this scar. He immediately said of course yes. When they talked, they kept avoiding the scar on my face, and their expressions were very unnatural. Some people were even too scared. There are people next to me whispering about me. Of course, we know that his feelings are real, but in reality this is all an illusion because there are no scars at all. In fact, we always live in these types of illusions. She didn't reply to my messages right away. Are you upset with me? Today the manager's eyes looked at me very strangely. He hasn't talked to me lately. Is it because I didn't like him? Or liking sweet foods is also an illusion that makes you easily angry? Or the feelings of fear, anxiety, and anger are all hallucinations? We are enslaved by our own genes, living in an illusion. That's why we have been living in a sea of suffering for so long. Buddha saw through it all. Just an illusion. But he did not know that the underlying cause was the shaping of genes by natural selection. But now we can completely realize what is an illusion and what is what we really need. The character Morpheus told Neo that I can only show you where the door is. But it was he who actually passed through that door. Author Robert Wright is the character who guides Morpheus. And we, the character Neo, are faced with the choice of blue and red pills. Do you want to return to a life of illusion and self-inflicted suffering, or do you want to escape the control of natural selection and gain insight into your nature to live a happier life? The choice is yours. Please watch part 2 of this video, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which will continue to explain the book Why Buddhism is True, to find out for you the best way to help us escape the illusion, to understand yourself better and take control of your own life. See you again in the next video.